We're going to explain how to change inputs on your Insignia NS24DF310NA21 TV without a remote. This is surprisingly easy, even though it might seem tricky at first. There are a few ways to do this depending on what kind of input you want to select. Here's how. 1. Finding the input buttons. First, locate the buttons on the TV itself. These are usually small and situated on the back, bottom, or side of your Insignia NS24DF310NA21. You'll likely find a cluster of buttons. Look for buttons labeled Input, Source, or something similar. It might have a symbol that looks like a square with an arrow pointing to it, indicating a source selection. These buttons might be harder to see than you think, so get a flashlight if necessary and really inspect the TV's edges and back. 2. Using the input buttons. Once you find the buttons, simply press the Input or Source button repeatedly. Each press cycles through the available input sources. These sources might include HDMI 1, HDMI 2, component AV, and antenna cable. Keep pressing the button until you see the input source you desire displayed on the screen. For example, if you want to watch your game console, you'll need to select the correct HDMI input that your console is plugged into. Pay close attention to the on-screen display, OSD, to see what input is currently selected. 3. Understanding your connections. Before you start pressing buttons, it's helpful to know which input your device, like a DVD player or game console, is connected to. Each HDMI port, component video input, or AV input will have a corresponding number or label. Knowing this makes selecting the correct input much quicker. Look at the back of your TV to see where your device is plugged in. 4. Troubleshooting. If you're having trouble finding the buttons or cycling through the inputs, check your TV's user manual. The manual will have a diagram showing the location of the buttons and will list all the available input sources. You can often download the manual from Insignia's website if you don't have a physical copy. If you still can't find the buttons or change the input, it's possible there's a problem with your TV, which requires professional attention. 5. Alternative. Using a universal remote. If you really struggle to find or use the physical buttons, a universal remote, available cheaply at most electronics stores, could be a useful solution. These remotes can be programmed to control your Insignia TV and provide a more convenient way to change inputs, even if it's not the ideal solution in this situation. It just requires a setup process outlined in the remote's instruction manual.